All right, what is going on, everybody? We are here with another Be the Exception podcast. We have our guest on today, Kyle Oland, owner of Fittest of the Coast. Kyle, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Kyle, man, thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk shop, so I'm excited for this.
For sure, for sure. So as many of you might know, Fittest of the Coast is blowing up. It's in Charlton, North Carolina, or sorry, South Carolina.
Yeah, Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, I get the two confused all the time.
Hey, you're from Minnesota. I'll
Right.
give you,
Yeah, I get a pass. Um, well, Kyle, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you started in CrossFit, kind of your sports background, and then how it all kind of evolved into Fittest of the Coast.
Yeah, I was a high school collegiate athlete, played college football, and got actually introduced to like CrossFit style training when I was in high school. I had a strength coach who was in the army who I didn't know it was like CrossFit style training, but I vividly remember a workout during football conditioning where we did kettlebell swings and ran and push-ups, and it was like rounds for time.
Yeah.
And I remember like, dude, this is awesome. Like, I love this. Again, I didn't really know it was CrossFit. I think
Right.
this was 2000 and probably 8 or 9. So he was like one of
S-
those real
The
OG.
early days.
Yeah. So then I went to college, played college football,
Hmm.
but had a trainer that I trained with that was also like an original CrossFit guy. So like when I was 18, 19, I'd come home and train, and this guy would put me through these workouts that were just brutal. And
Yeah.
I'd go and train with him, and he started telling me about CrossFit. This was like 2011.
Okay.
Then I started in college, started like kind of, I never joined a CrossFit gym, but I started understanding and learning about it like from YouTube and stuff, like in 12, 13,
Yeah.
seeing like Rich Froning and all that. And I remember I did an open workout like in my college's gym when this would have been like 2012, 2013.
Hmm.
And I started doing like muscle ups and stuff in the gym, and people would look at me like, "What are you doing?" Like Filthy 50. I had a
Yep.
bunch of guys do that in like 12, like 13, it's probably 2013.
Yeah.
I started like learning about it. Then I moved after I graduated, I moved to Florida and worked for the University of Florida in their athletic offices.
Okay.
And at the time, like if you know anything about working in college athletics, you get paid diddly squat. And I
Yeah.
had like no money. And because I worked for the college, I got to use the athletic gym and all that. So I just worked out there. But like I would Google CrossFit gyms
Hmm.
and never went, but still did like CrossFit style training. And then it would have been 2015, I left college athletics and moved to Myrtle Beach, where my now wife, we were getting married, and she knew that I like always wanted to do CrossFit, but I was too cheap to buy a gym membership. So
Yeah.
like it was probably like April of 2015 when I moved to Myrtle Beach. She bought me a gym membership,
Oh,
a
nice.
CrossFit gym in Myrtle Beach, and then like just fell in love with it, got
Yeah.
hooked, um, and just started doing CrossFit. And again, like everybody that gets hooked, they just get hooked. Started
Yeah.
competing, and this was like during the golden era of regional,
Yes.
which I know you're aware of.
Yep.
Every guy that was semi fit was like, "Hey, I got a chance to go to regionals."
Yeah.
So, like I was that guy, like, oh, maybe if I get into this, I'll go to regionals one day. So fell in love with it and
Yeah.
competed a lot locally, like in South Carolina and North Carolina.
Hmm.
That's just my journey into CrossFit. Got my L1 in like 2016. Started a kids training program where we basically taught CrossFit kids, and I did that for 4 years, training kids 4 nights a week.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my journey and introduction into CrossFit.
Yeah. So you were you part of a gym training those kids
Yeah,
or
yeah.
okay.
The gym that I was a member of, CrossFit Updog in Myrtle Beach, uh,
Okay.
I went to them and said, "Hey, like, I'd really like to start a program just for kids."
Hmm.
So kind of developed that, and we would do our kids class 3 nights a week, and then sometimes on the weekends, and just built that from the ground up. And then actually, I ended up giving it to another guy. Once Fittest of this Coast started taking off, like I wanted to, and maybe we'll get into this. I wanted to focus more of my time and energy into the event.
Okay.
Kind of felt like, hey, something's got to give. So I gave up the program, gave it to another guy to let run, and then he ran it, and it's still running today, actually.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
been fun. Yeah.
Because you guys were out at CrossFit What's Up Dog. Was it during last year's releases, or was it this year?
Yeah, yeah, we've been to CrossFit Up Dog. I think it was last year we did it there. Yeah.
Okay.
We've actually been now to like 25 gyms.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It's a blast. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the community aspect that you've like developed with this competition is definitely something I want to kind of get into, but maybe just talk a little bit about how you went from like kids classes into building out this competition and like what was the drive behind that?
Yeah, so during that time, like 2015, when I started competing and really getting involved in CrossFit, my gym put on an event. It still goes on today. It's called the Beach Town Throwdown in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
And I started helping with that in like 2016 or 2017.
Okay.
Started like really taking a lot of ownership in that event. Not I didn't own it, but I ran. So what I do, like I have two jobs. I run a
Yeah.
marketing team and then
Okay.
also the event. So I started running all the marketing for that event and then helping, like I was a head judge, helping lead for multiple years at that event and helped grow it to a decently sized regional event. And
Okay.
during that time of helping run the event, I was like, dude, like there were things that I didn't like, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, but I couldn't do anything about it because it wasn't
Right.
my event. So
Right.
I thought to myself, hey, like I want to have an event that I could do the things the way I would want to do them, with the idea that, hey, I wanted to create something that was a really exceptional athlete experience based event that
Mm-hmm.
every decision we make is based upon, hey, how does this elevate the experience for the athletes and make it cool? Um, so long story short, like for prayed many, many years, like, hey, I was praying like, hey, God, give me something that I can make my own.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2019, I was sitting at my kitchen table. My wife was in Mexico
Okay.
for her cousin's wedding. And I was just sitting there scrolling through Instagram and I saw an event and I was like, dude, I'm just going to start my own event. Texted my
Yeah.
wife and said, hey, I'm going to start my own event. And there was an event, it's kind of morphed over years. It was called Fittest of the Upstate. And
Okay.
um, they had this model that I thought was pretty interesting. They took the open and basically took from a region, which was like the upstate of South Carolina, and invited people who placed well in the open to compete at this event, very regional based,
Okay.
very locally based, actually.
Yeah.
So I reached out to those people and I said, hey guys, like I really like what you're doing. Like I'd like to do something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And got on the phone and was like, would you mind if I do something like you got going on here on the coast of South Carolina? And they're like, yes, absolutely. So created Fittest to the Coast, and it was originally back in 2020 was our first event.
Mm-hmm.
It was only for people on the coast of South Carolina. So from like North Myrtle Beach all the way down to Bluffton, Beaufort, South Carolina. You had to be within this window, and then you had to live east of 95. And
Okay.
I found a programmer on Reddit who then programmed a leaderboard from the open that populated everybody within this geographic zip codes. I pulled zip codes
Wow.
and made a leaderboard. And then I
Yeah.
sat there and DM'd every gym that was in that region saying, hey, you don't know me for Adam, but I've made this event. Would you like to participate?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then we ran a promotion. And this was in 2019. It was when the Open started to kind of lose its luster.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
created
Yep.
this campaign all around the Open Matters. So I got T-shirts made. I sent them to all these gyms that said the Open Matters, and we made
Yeah.
this thing that say, "Hey, the Open matters again." So that was our tagline, and got a lot of people excited. So
That's
our first
awesome.
event, and then I had friends that lived in Charleston that owned a gym because I don't own a gym. Like I don't have
Right.
equipment at this time. I don't have a gym. Like I have nothing literally. And I
Right.
said, "Hey guys, I'd like to make an event. Can I use your gym?" And their names are Donnie and Shannon McDaniel. They own Iron Bridge CrossFit, and they also now own CrossFit Updog in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay.
And
Cool.
they were like, "Sure." So I worked out a deal where a percentage of the revenue went to the gym. So it was like, "Hey," I positioned it as, "Hey, like you have a piece of real estate. Let me rent it from you, and
Mm-hmm.
you get some money for just having this."
Yeah.
So that's how it was set up. So our first event was in 2020, like 3 weeks before COVID and all the lockdowns happened, which was like
Wow.
the thing ever. We had
Man, that's timing.
yes, like we were joking at that point, like seeing whatever was happening in the Northeast. This is nothing's gonna happen, yada yada.
Right.
And then we have an event, our first event with like 220 athletes, and then 3 weeks later, everything gets shut down. Like no joke,
Man,
if COVID had happened like 3 weeks earlier, Fittest of the Coast probably wouldn't have
wouldn't
existed today.
yeah, right. That's
Yeah,
so crazy.
yeah. So that
Man.
was our first event. And the idea behind it was I probably did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. Like I gave away every dollar I made, like in cash. Like it
Yeah.
was ridiculous. I got every athlete got like shorts, sports bras, all this stuff. But I was like,
Yeah.
hey, like, I just went crazy. Like I wasn't like
You just
I was just thinking, how do I make this the coolest thing ever?
yeah,
I
yeah.
poured everything into it, and people
But
really liked it, and it was
do you
really awesome.
do you feel like doing that though, like that was something that helped gain traction for following years?
Yeah, it absolutely did. Like we and I still do this today. Like every decision is like, hey, how does it make it awesome? Like, how
Mhm.
do we make this the coolest thing it could be? And we've done a number of things every year. I could tell you example after example.
Mhm.
Like, so that was the first year, and then the second year. So that now in all of this, I said that I had this plan. Like I
Mhm.
remember telling someone, I was like, hey, I'm going to make this event one of the biggest events in the country. And I remember someone kind of laughing at me, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I had this idea. I was like, hey, I'm going to start small. I'm going to
Yeah.
make it so awesome that people are going to want to be a part of it, but I'm going to tell them they can't because we were only on the coast of South Carolina.
Right.
Like
Yep.
I had people DMing me, hey, can we compete? Can we compete? It's like, no, you're not within our area. So then the next year, we actually something happened. It was the open moved. So they moved the Open. This was in 2020, and the Open moved. It was supposed to be in the fall, I think, and they moved it back to the winter. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah. So I think it was 2019 they did it in October, and then they did another one in 2020, right? Early
Yeah,
2020
I think
or
early 2020, or they moved it or something. I can't remember what happened.
yeah.
So what I did was, so during this time, my goal was in year three, I was going to make my own online qualifier. Like in the plan I had laid out to how I'm going to grow this, the third year I was going to do an online qualifier. Well, because CrossFit started doing all the things that they do poorly, which we could get into, it
Yeah.
opened up the opportunity where I was like, hey, I cannot wait and base my event off of another organization. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no sustainability in this. So
Right.
then I said, all right, we're just going to make an online qualifier. So we created an online qualifier in the fall of 2020. Again, it was only for the coast of South Carolina. So you
Did
could
you had you expanded it a little bit? Or
no,
okay, so kept it the same.
no, it was only for the coast. And then
Okay.
then I was like, hey, I'm going to do what the CrossFit used to do, where they still do, where they announced the workouts at different gyms. So we picked different gyms along the coast and we went and did live shows, which we still do today. It's
Mhm.
gotten better over time. But I found like, dude, I had had my brother-in-law, one of my best friends, and then a guy who found us on Instagram, who's now our video guy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then my buddy at the time who was shooting photos, and we just got in my truck and just drove around everywhere.
That's so cool.
And it was a ton of fun. We met a lot of people
Yeah.
and generated a lot of great relationships. And then we had our second event at another gym in Charleston called CrossFit Wando.
Okay.
At that point, that competition, the gym owner comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I think you're getting too big to be at a gym." And I was like, we were like, it was not it was, I don't know how we did it because we had
Yeah.
so many people there and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and I had already had this foresight. I was like, this isn't sustainable. Like we're
Yeah.
growing fast, but if we want to grow, we got to make some moves. So
Mhm.
the day after that event, I had set up a meeting with the Charleston Convention Center. So we get done that workout, that event,
Mhm.
and then I drive over to the Charleston Convention Center and take a tour of it. And we signed a deal with them, which I had no business signing. Like it was way too expensive. And I was just like, figure it out. Like again, like
Yeah.
I was young and naive during all this time, which hindsight's 2020.
Sometimes that works the best. You're just like, "Yo, it's gonna we're gonna make it happen."
Yes, yeah, I had no idea I had an idea of what I was doing, but I had no idea of the magnitude that this thing would get to.
Hmm.
So then I was like, all right, well, we're gonna rent the Charleston Convention Center. And at the time, our event was only individuals.
Okay.
And I'm really big into spreadsheets and looking at numbers. And I looked at the numbers and I was like, dude, this is not gonna work. So, but we had already had the plan where I was gonna expand our event. So what we did was we expanded it. Um, to everybody, but I
Okay.
didn't want to alienate the people that had been in our event for years. So what we did was the next year in the qualifier, we created two divisions. We created a coastal division and
Mm.
a mainland division, like the mainlanders. And we
Yeah.
brought in
Okay.
people from the coast and then people from the mainland because I didn't want to alienate the community that helped us grow.
For sure. Yeah.
So the certain spots within each division qualified, and then we made a team division as well, two-person team division.
Hmm.
And I don't remember why I did this, but we ran two events that year. We only ran a team event at the convention center, and
Okay.
then 3 months, 2 months later, we ran an individual event at this like place I found in Myrtle Beach. It was an all outside event. It was
Oh, awesome.
wild. So like we had two events within 3 months.
Yeah.
And the idea was I didn't want to just change everything overnight. The idea was, hey, I'll do this and then I'll combine them. So then the
Okay.
next year, I combined everything into one event and it made the event what it is today.
Yeah.
And then in the qualifier, I got rid of the mainland and coastal division. I think that was 2023.
Okay.
And now we're going into our third year of where it's kind of where it is now. We have one event, individuals and teams. Um, and then everybody comes to the convention center.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a man, that's a wild journey. When you were talking about like just getting in your truck and going and meeting people, I was like, oh man, that's like old school CrossFit, like just
Dude,
grassroots.
it was like we would just show up and like people had no idea. It was just, and we were all young, except for my buddy David, who's 10 years older than me. We
Hmm.
were like 27, 26-year-old kids just showing up, being like,
Yeah.
we got this camera and we're going to do a live show at your gym. And like, I think sometimes we showed up and they're like, who are these people? Like, these are the people putting this event on.
Yeah.
Like we didn't look like we're just young kids out there running around.
Right, right. Yeah, that's awesome. Just so like I mean doing that though, so maybe we can kind of get into the community aspect of it. Like you talked about like you went you reached out to what is it,
Yeah, Iron Bridge, yeah.
Iron Bridge, had hosted the gym there. Then you were kind of running from gym to gym doing these live shows and you've since continued that on. Do you think that was like super instrumental in creating the community that you have with Fittest of the Coast? And maybe like I guess maybe you could talk a little bit more about the community that you've created and then kind of how you think that like established.
Yeah, I think it's been very organic. But it's also like I truly believe like our core group, like we just like to have a good time. We're nothing
Yeah.
special. Like we don't have like these egos. Like none of us are like these CrossFit Games athletes. We're just people that just love CrossFit, love
Hmm.
working out, and just love having a good time with other people. So
Hmm.
I think that was kind of contagious that we were just normal people.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that helped is like I don't own a gym. So
Yeah.
nobody viewed me as competition, where I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
in this other gym. Like I'm just some random schmuck in a truck.
Right.
But definitely going to gyms has been instrumental because it allows us to spend time and connect with the people that are part of our event and
Totally.
create a deeper relationship with folks. Like we went twice to this gym in Bluffton. It's called CrossFit 843. It's one of the best gyms I've ever been.
Yeah.
It's owned by a guy named Martin Catalioto and his wife.
Hmm.
And we got to just we spent we would sleep there and we would go out to eat with the people after the show and we work it out. We would just have a good time and we were able to
Yeah.
generate those relationships and still are. But
Yeah.
those were instrumental in the early years where now like when people are at my event, like I try to remember as many people's names as possible. So it's like, hey, what's up, Martin? what's up, yada, and you generate those relationships, and it's more than just, hey, these are these guys putting on this event, but
Mm-hmm.
these are like real people that we can have relationships with. So that has definitely helped. And as we've grown, I would say it's gotten a little harder because at
Yeah.
one point we were just so small and such a tight knit community that as we've grown, now we have people from all over the country and we're generating
Right.
new relationships.
Yeah.
That has been one of the harder parts, and that's why for us going to gyms is crucial for us to generate those relationships. Because and we always try to go to a new gym every year so we can meet a
Yeah.
community of people that compete in our event.
Awesome. Yeah. So as I guess as you expand, how do you think you're going to be able to scale that then and like continue to kind of keep that community aspect?
Yeah, I think it's really it's in the ethos of who we are. Like, hey, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we want to create memorable experiences and empowering those around us to feel like they're part of something more. Like, hey, like our event, like it's an event, but we want it to be part of like almost the culture of your gym where, hey, in the fall every year, Fittest of the Coast comes around.
Mm-hmm.
And for 4 weeks, we are going to create excitement in your gym for 4 weeks,
Yeah.
especially during the fall when it's starting to get a little um, colder. It's getting darker earlier. People are
Yeah.
less likely to be at the gym. Like that was one of my goals is, hey, I want to create value for gyms to to get their gym community who are paying them for their gym membership to be fired up about working out so they keep coming to the gym. Like that is definitely one of the values that we look to do. But really, it's just, hey, we want to just, we're normal people. We want to just have a good time and just treat everybody the way we'd want to be treated, which is with respect and kindness.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you guys do a great job of that. And one of I think my first year there was in 2023. I think it was that the first year in the convention center with both the individual
Yeah,
and the team?
2023 would have been the first year with the convention center. That was the pirate year. I
Yes.
remember years by our theme. That's kind of
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah. So the pirate year. And I just thought it was the atmosphere there was awesome. You had for those of you that have not gone to Fittest of the Coast, is you guys have one kind of stage set up that would be roughly the size of like an old regional or semifinal floor. Is that correct or
yeah, it's shoot, hold on, I got a floor plan right over here. I can tell
okay.
you. It is it's 114 feet long by 116 feet. No, 116 feet long by 114 feet wide is the
Okay.
floor plan.
And then you guys have the rig kind of might be off center a little bit, but you essentially run two stages on this one massive stage, and I think it's so awesome because there's always action going on around the stage, and so like you might have like the elites going on one side, and then you might have the scaled on the other side. But when the elites are kind of on break and changing out, now all of a sudden people who might not be watching kind of scaled or intermediate divisions or RX, they're just going to flip their attention over there, and you have this spotlight on people who might not always get the spotlight on them, which I thought was just a super cool way to run the competition, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I could actually. I did not come up with that idea. One of the things that I've also done is I volunteer and go to a bunch of different gyms. One of my
Yeah.
good buddies, who I helped for like 3 years with his event,
Hmm.
he helped me a lot as well. His name's Will Bald. He runs an event down in Daytona called the Atlantic Coast Classic.
Yeah.
He does something similar to that, a
Okay.
little different, but similar to that as well.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where you kind of generated that idea from.
Yeah, like he reached out to me like in my second year and was just like, "Hey man, I like what you got going on. Like, I need some help with my event. Do you want to come help?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, absolutely. I got nothing better to do." So like for 3 straight years, like I actually would take equipment down to him to help him. Like he didn't have flooring one year, he didn't have enough, so I loaded
Oh
up a
wow.
U-Haul and brought him mine. But yeah, going to different events and like what I've always liked to do is I like to go to an event and like observe and say, hey, what's something that I can take from this event that I really like and
Hmm.
maybe put on to my event.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Almost like I think back in the day, gym owners would kind of travel around to a bunch of gyms first and then see what they liked and then set that up in their gym.
Yeah, yeah. So that's been helpful. But yeah, in terms of like the way the stage set up, we joke like, hey, when the event starts, it doesn't stop. Like
It literally doesn't. Yeah.
the music bumps for like 10 straight hours.
Yeah.
Like we go nonstop and it's
Yeah,
ridiculous. And it's kind of our culture as well. It's like, hey,
for sure.
once the music goes on, it does not go off until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but it's also chaos.
Yeah, yeah, it is, but yeah, it just keeps everybody engaged and like, some of these bigger events like Wadapalooza or you know Fittest experience one year. They have multiple stages, but you're like running from stage to stage, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna miss have my athlete over here. Like from a coaching perspective, it makes it awesome because you're literally watching your athletes on one stage or both stages at the same time, which helps out a ton. So yeah, that was a super cool format. So
Yeah.
so what's kind of like the plan for the future here? Like how are you guys going to expand, like continue to grow? Like what are some ideas there?
Yeah. So we've taken one step this year is we've added more space. We're moving our athlete warm up area to a ballroom,
Okay.
which for athletes and coaches, it'll be quieter. There'll be more room and more space. And then it opens up more space in our convention center. Like, hey, if you're listening to this podcast, you'll get a little inside information. Like, we're going to have a run this year and utilize part of the venue. Like, I can't give too much into it, but there'll be a
Yeah.
run, and we wouldn't have been able to do that prior. We
Okay.
also bringing in more bleachers,
Mm,
a third massive set. Last year we had two. We're bringing in two 12 by 7 feet big video boards that'll be on either side of the competition floor,
awesome.
kind of really professionalize it even more. And then as we go to the future, like I have actually a contract in my inbox right now where we'll take over all the ballroom space starting in 2026, with the idea that we might move our athlete area, our athlete village area into the ballrooms and then create a third
Uh,
competition floor
okay.
2026. So these are the things that we're thinking about.
Yeah.
Um, and then like we've also started like I don't think anytime in the near future, but like we've looked into other cities as well, like and potentially moving it to another city. I don't know if we ever will, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I try to do is always think like 1 or 2 years in advance. So
Mhm.
that way we can start, doing the things needed to sustain the event, but also
Mhm.
increase the athlete experience. So it's always forward thinking. Like I'm trying to find a way. We would love to do kind of what Wadapalooza does with the gauntlet and have like just we have so many people that don't qualify that like legit
Right.
want to participate. So trying to find a way to get more of the community that takes part in the qualifier part of the event.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out. We haven't figured it out yet, but we're working towards it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know that was like I was trying to explain to my athletes last year. It's like, guys, this event is very well run. Like people have fun. The word is going to spread about this thing and it's not going to be as easy to walk into this event next year. And then sure enough, like the first week on the leaderboard this year comes out and people are like, "What?"
Yeah, yeah, I was, like, kinda blown away as well, like, ho the depth of the field, like, we, like for the pro, our elite division, we call it pro, the depth was they were so deep that we
Yeah,
expanded it from 16 to 32, which I feel like
right.
the right move. Last year, I don't think we were there, but this year, like, the field's so deep, like, any of those guys like, dude, the guy that finished second at our event last year, Quinn, I think he took 18th in the qualifier.
Wow.
That's how good the depth is.
Yeah,
Like, qualifiers are fickle as well, like, I get that as well, like,
for sure.
programs sometimes, dictate we do the best we can, but, dude, it's online qualifiers, like,
Mhm.
sometimes, like, some guys just and gals just do better in online qualifiers
Totally.
than in person.
Yeah, the online qualifiers seem to be a little bit more like engine oriented. There's like not really anything you can do to get away with that. And then like at the actual competition, like you have way usually bigger transitions, so you have like that work to rest ratio so that powerful athlete can kind of express their capacity a little bit better with some of that work to rest stuff. But Yeah, it sounds like you guys did a good job of like just expanding and recognizing that too. So
Yeah, yeah, so that's fun and like yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, it's take it a year at a time.
yeah, yeah. And so like one other thing that I think you guys do a great job of is just taking like constructive criticism and like learning from that and applying things to that. So just an example, I think the first year I was recommended the competition. The first year we went, we were recommended the competition by somebody who had came the previous year. When I think it was out on the beach, the individual comp. And they're like, hey, like the rig's not bolted to the ground. Like you're gonna have to like tell your athletes this, et cetera, or something along those lines. Or they said the rig was shaky or something. And then we showed up and they're like, oh, this is completely different. Like they took that and they ran with it. And like, I think year after year, you guys have just evolved from kind of hearing what the feedback is from the community too.
Yeah, oh yeah, we are not perfect by any means, and I'll never claim to be, but what we do every year is we send out a survey and like
Hmm.
if you're listening and like you participate in our event, like that survey is like instrumental because
Yeah.
like I want feedback. I want you to tell us like what we did poorly because
Hmm.
a lot of times we might not know it. So like, for this year, one of the big feedbacks, and it's been this way for a couple years, is that hey, the athlete warm-up area is too cramped. And trust me, well aware of it. Got to figure out a way to make it better. But like I love criticism in the essence that it is the only way we can improve. Because if
Hmm.
somebody doesn't tell you it's like coaching, right? If
Right.
you don't tell an athlete, hey, you're not getting deep enough, or hey, you need to fix this in your technique, how are they going to know to get better, right?
Totally.
Likewise, we as event organizers, if nobody tells us, hey, this is what needs to get done better, we might not know. Like oftentimes, like I try to observe, but like you need feedback from athletes because
Hmm.
they're the ones in it, right? They're the ones participating. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's something that take a lot of pride in, and because I know like this event, like I have two boys. This
Mhm.
is my third child.
Yeah.
Like this event, like I understand how much it means to a lot of people, and people travel from very far distances to be part of it. They give up their time, their resources. That like my goal and my biggest stressor is, hey, I want to make sure you feel like it was worth your time,
Hmm.
right? So like that I'm stressing right now over a decision we got to make because like in my opinion, it helps dictate the experience for people.
Oh yeah.
I stress beyond belief that hey, this event has to be amazing for everyone
Hmm.
because they're coming to be part of it. And if they don't think it's good, then we failed.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you think like some of that pressure is what drives the wanting to hear feedback from people and then taking it and applying it or
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's the desire to, hey, we have to make this the best it can be for the people, our community.
Mhm.
Um, and if we don't, then we're doing them a disservice. They're not going to want to spend the time to be part of it, right? Ultimately,
Right.
we want people to be part of it. We feel like we deliver a product and an environment and a community that warrants people wanting to be part of it, but it's our job to deliver.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. Well, from our perspective, you've definitely done a great job of that. So,
Oh, well, thank you. I lose so much sleep and I work way more than I should. Well, no, but I wake. It's fun.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, when you care about something, you're passionate about it, it's hours and days and years off of your life. So,
Yeah.
but it's awesome to kind of see it come to fruition. So, that's pretty cool. Um, I think one thing that people are a little bit interested about right now is like what the CrossFit structure of the season is going to look like, and there's been a lot of information that's kind of floating around, or like some assumptions or just kind of guesses at what might be happening. Um, but I think it would be interesting to hear from an actual competition owner what they think might be going on, and how Fittest of the Coast might fit into that as well.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Shoot, this could be a long discussion.
Right.
The first thing I'll say is like I think the CrossFit season. I understand years ago how it was set up and why it was set up that way, but
Hmm.
the sport of CrossFit is much different than it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago. The
Mhm.
professionalism of the sport, that I don't think the way it's currently, or as it has been set up, is in the best service for the high level athletes that are going to the CrossFit games.
Mhm.
The first thing is like, I don't understand the CrossFit Open for the high level athlete.
Right.
I don't understand regionals. I somewhat understand semifinals, but it's almost like a waste of their time where they could be doing other things,
Yeah.
other competitions. Where so here's how I would set it up.
Mhm.
So I work in my real job is I lead a marketing team, and we work very closely with the PGA Tour. Um,
Okay.
I help. We actually have a PGA Tour event that we sponsor, so I'm pretty in-depthly knowledgeable about the PGA Tour and their structure and the way the CrossFit should be set up from a sport,
Mhm.
not CrossFit games. I'm just talking about the sport of CrossFit. It should be very similar to how the PGA Tour is set up, where there's a governing body or a league. The PGA Tour is a governing body, right?
Mhm.
They have all these different tournaments under them,
Yeah.
where oftentimes individual entities run those tournaments.
Okay.
Where the PGA Tour comes in is they collect sponsors that provide the purses for those events. They
Okay.
also handle the media, the broadcast rights, etc. But these events, they're in charge of running them. They make revenue off running the events,
Okay.
where it should be a similar model where there is a set number of events over the
Mhm.
calendar year that
Mhm.
are under this league, we'll call it that, where
Okay.
they're independent event organizers that are running them. They're responsible for hey, if the event succeeds, they make money. If the event does not, they lose money. But the
Mhm.
league is paying the purses, right? And then
Okay.
there's also points you can generate where you can then earn the right to have your pro card, etc., or go on to other marquee events. So, like, to me, that makes the most sense.
Mhm.
But I know why they would never do it, because they would lose a lot of money. When I say they, I mean CrossFit. If they do make money off of it, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, but I think the current system is vastly broken for longevity, and you're starting to
Yeah.
see that. Like, High Rocks is really starting to take forefront in the sport of like fitness racing and fitness competitions,
Right.
where I think CrossFit is honestly losing ground to High
Yeah.
Rocks
100%.
because they don't have this system in place um, for high level athletes to succeed.
Mhm.
So I don't know what they're going to do this year. Obviously, probably like you heard rumors that it's going to be all online. I don't think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, I don't necessarily have a like, who knows. But from our standpoint, like, I've had conversations with different folks about the very concept that we
Yeah.
discussed, and I don't know what's going to happen. I know for us, like, I'm just focused on our event and how do we
Mhm.
make it the best that's possible. But I am interested to see, because
Yeah.
we are part of the ecosystem.
Right.
So the success of our event um, really does matter to, or it mirrors the sport of CrossFit. If there's interest
Mhm.
in CrossFit, people want to participate in our event. So uh,
Right.
it's a trickle down effect. So we'll see.
Yeah. Do you feel like in 2019 that when they introduced sanctionals, that was similar to kind of what you were describing with the PGA Tour? Maybe not exact, but
Yeah, I think it was a little similar. I think the problem though is the problem is a lot of events aren't set up to be sustainable.
okay.
I think the sanctionals at the time, they were only focused on elite level athletes,
Yeah.
where unfortunately you're not going to be able to pay all your bills as an event with just those.
Mhm.
And your expenses are going to be vastly higher than the revenue you bring in. Like,
Right.
it has to be a community focused event, like similar to how Fittest to the Coast is, like, to be
Right.
successful and have sustainability. If you don't have that, there's just not enough money out there to sustain an event.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to watch. Being from Minnesota, I had participated in Granite Games for since its inception as Cloudy Town Throwdown back in
That's
2012.
awesome.
Throwback, yeah, throwback.
What?
And it was just interesting to watch John, build it, and he was always like the first year that he ran it, he brought in a lot of athletes, and I think he went red to bring in a lot of these athletes, but it created a ton of buzz about it, and he did it at the St. Cloud University kind of basketball courts there. But then it was still a super big community event. And then he just pushed the community side of it. And he opened up more stages, had more divisions, and just generated a lot of just kind of buzz around that kind of Midwest area to bring people to it. And it was the premier competition of the event. And then he ended up selling it. And then Loud and Live decided just to I mean, it was crazy. They bought out the Vikings practice facility. I ended up going there in 2021 and 2022, and they bought out they rented out the Vikings practice facility and only ran elite competitors through in 2021. I was like, what is going on right now? There's no way this is sustainable. Like,
No. Did because I've always wondered, like, did Loud and Live just give up on Granite Games? Because that was a cool event.
oh man, yeah, I have no
How did
idea.
how does it not at least still exist in some capacity?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I think so. John Swanson was the original owner of it, and he played hockey at St. Cloud State University. So I think there was probably some sort of deal that he had worked out with St. Cloud where he was getting that university and like all the facilities for it relatively cheap. So it was ending up like becoming a pretty profitable competition at that point in time. And I don't know if when he sold the Loud and Live, they lost that connection, or if they were just like, "Hey, we only are going to go into the elite side of things, and that's it." They did have a couple different divisions in 2022 there, so I don't know if they were like trying to expand it, but I mean, after 2022, it was just completely gone, and kind of sad because it was such a good competition.
Yeah, yeah, that was like a staple, and like,
Yeah,
it's probably hard too, Loud and Live, right? They're not based out of Minnesota, so if you lose
right.
that connectivity to the region, that could hurt you as well. But yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it had gotten to the point though where everybody in the community and space knew what it was. I mean, in 2019 when it was sanctionals even, like there was a ton of people competing at that thing
yeah.
still. So, yeah, kind of a bummer, but so I guess do you foresee like, Fittest of the Coast, maybe like something like Pensacola Beach Ball or what's the one in Daytona again?
The Atlantic Coast Classic
That was the Bacon Beatdown previously, right?
was, yes, I
Okay.
was there for
Yeah.
the last year the Bacon beat.
Were you? Okay. That's sweet. So, do you foresee like any of these competitions almost just like, CrossFit goes online, right? And it's almost all online all the way to the games. Like, do you guys foresee you guys becoming like the premier of the sport of fitness or
I don't know. That's honestly not a goal for us. Like, hey, like our goal is to create memorable athletes experiences.
okay.
If by us doing our job and doing the best we can to put on an event at the highest caliber that we can do it, that becomes something great. But like that's not what we're out there hunting for. We're out there
Okay.
hunting to make sure that everybody that is part of our event, they feel like it was worth their time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like if you could sacrifice a lot to chase something like that.
Okay.
Like our goal is to do the best event for our community, and if it turns
Mhm.
into that, great. But if it doesn't, it's fine as well.
Yeah, yeah. So you're just focused in on kind of what you're doing and how to grow what you guys believe in.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Um, Sweet. So I guess getting into maybe some kind of funner questions here, or I guess a little bit more of a serious one. But what are some of the highs and lows of running a competition?
So many lows. I spend hours a day working on Fittest of the Coast. I wake up this time of year, like my training gets a little to the wayside. Like
Yeah.
I always wake up by 5. Typically, I'm on my computer for an hour before I go out in my garage and train, and I do
Okay.
something. In the evening, I'm on my computer. The lows though, man, dude, it's draining. Like
Yeah,
I say it is draining. Like there's a lot of stress. I've caused a lot of unnecessary stress to my life running an event.
for sure.
Um, and how we've grown to where we were when we started is we're just so vastly different. Like I was thinking about it today, like when we first started, I rented a little U-Haul trailer, loaded it up, and hitched it up to my truck, and then we took everything down for our event. Now we have two semi trucks, three 26-foot
Wow.
box trucks, my truck, and it's like it takes 2 days just to set up.
Yeah.
Every bit of 2 days. Well, 3 days when you count about loading trucks. That it's there's so much stress to it, like it's ridiculous. But like
Hmm.
for me, the joy that I get because I have a vision every year of what it'll look like. In my
Hmm.
head, I already know how the event is going to look. So when to see that when it comes to fruition, the way you picture it in your head, like it's really rewarding. And to see people have such a good time at this thing that you've built for them to enjoy, it's one of the most rewarding things ever. And
Totally.
honestly, sometimes I'm just like, why are all these people here? Like I'm just this normal dude, the family that is just putting
Yeah.
an event, and there's thousands of people at this thing, but it's kind of just crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the highs are getting to sit back and say, wow, look what we've built and look at the joy it brings to people. The lows are lots of lack of sleep, restless nights, stress, um, beyond belief, but it is worth it
For
nonetheless.
sure.
I,
Yeah.
I would never tell anybody go build an event. Like it is not for everybody. It is for a different breed of human.
Yeah.
You have to like love obviously, I guess if you like CrossFit, you like personal suffering, but like it is not glamorous. It is not fun. Well, no, it is. It's a ton of fun. I will take that back, but it's not glamorous, and there's a lot to it that nobody ever thinks about unless you're in it.
Yeah. What are some of those things?
Shoot, right now, I'm tomorrow we're gonna send out our volunteer list or like our
Mhm.
volunteer positions. So like the last 3 days, like because we now have almost 100 volunteers a day, which is ridiculously
That's
crazy in
awesome.
itself. Is I used to just run it all on spreadsheets and like text messages. And then this year I was like, this is not sustainable. So we got this volunteer management system. So
Oh, okay.
the last 2 days, my wife and I have been loading all of our volunteers in. And then
Mm.
like, that's something yet we think about. The other thing is this morning, as we're working on programming, like the big thing is we already have every year when we go into it, I know the block windows for our workouts,
Mhm.
but it's making sure that everything fits from a timing standpoint to where we have 44 divisions.
Right.
Are the workouts evenly spaced where you're getting time in between workouts? Are they too far apart? Like some things, it's we can't necessarily control things. We have
Mhm.
offsite workout, so it's like, hey, logistically, how are we getting people to from? How are we getting our volunteers to and from? That's one big thing. Working with our venue on floor layouts, working with vendors, work this year, we've increased our medical team. Last year, I think we had four. This year, we'll have 8 full-time people just on
Awesome.
the medical team.
Yeah.
So there's just every little bit of it. Like people just think, oh, you show up and put on workouts. The workouts are such a small. The workouts are the biggest part of it,
Right,
but
right.
also such a small part to it.
Right.
Yeah,
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 yeah. The behind the scenes things definitely is something that I think people overlook. Like
yeah.
the production value of things is just like you look at it and it's like, oh, it's so simple. You just start a timer and then shuffle people on and off the floor. And it's like, no.
No, I wish. And then it's like, hey, we work with our equipment company. So I just sent a new equipment list to our equipment partner today to make sure everything they have. And then like it's hey, because we have 2 floors, how's the equipment divided per floor? There's so much. It's honestly, it's like I have a system now where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, like somebody would be like, how do you do all this? I'm like, well, I just do this, then I do that. But like I it's honestly one of the most rewarding, fun things ever. Like I love working on it. Like I could sit here all day and work on the event. That's how
Yeah.
much I enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you ever foresee yourself coming full time on it or?
We'll see. Ultimately, that is a goal in the next like 3 years. We'll
Yeah.
see though. We'll just see. Like I have a family and kids, so like
Right, right.
if it was just me, I probably would have quit my job and just become a hermit and do this. But like I have kids
Yeah.
that I have to support, so it's events are pretty fickle business.
Right, right.
They're here today, gone tomorrow, kind
Yeah.
of. So we'll see. Well,
Yeah.
honestly, Kyle, I subscribe to the idea that hey, I'm going to work the hardest I can, do the best I can,
Yeah.
and let God take care of the rest. So
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. He's got a plan for you and it's just whatever happens happens.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So two more maybe kind of fun ones here. If you got to pick any job besides yours at the competition, what would it be?
I'd be slinging equipment all day long. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I still change equipment every year. And try to judge every year.
Yeah. Dude,
Last year was
that's sick.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, last year was the first year I had never judged a heat at the event. Like, but
Wow.
the judges actually told me no, like, hey, we got this.
Okay.
But like my leadership style is I never want anybody to think I'm not working as hard as them. So
Yeah,
like my goal is to work harder than everybody at our event, because ultimately I am the leader and
for
it
sure.
all starts with me. And I don't want to be looked at somebody that's bringing in all these people, amazing volunteers. Our community of volunteers is just amazing. That I don't want them to ever look at me and be like, well, that guy's not working really hard and this is his event. So like I'll get on the mic, I'll sling equipment, I'll wipe toilets. I've done that before.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, but I enjoy changing equipment. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so it's fun.
yeah. Just get a little workout in while you're at the
Yeah,
competition.
the equipment team gets the best workout out of it.
Man, are they just exhausted? But I've never done that before. Are they just exhausted at the end of the day?
Yeah, especially last year they were pretty pissed off at me because I had a workout. Which one was it? Maybe it was
The po-
2 years ago. No, it was last year. Last year there was a snatch event, and every heat they
had
had to take
yes, yeah, I
barbells
remember
and
that.
restack them.
Yeah.
8 straight hours we did that. They were so pissed off at me. Just, "Don't ever do that again."
You're like, sorry. It
And
looked cool.
yeah, Valor's equipment's really good, but, like,
Yeah.
their competition plates are, like, really slick. So, like,
Oh,
their
yes.
grip like, if you ask anybody who's, like they're, like, dense,
Yeah,
so they're not like rubber ones where you can just grab them real quick. They're dense, so they're not fun to move.
totally. Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Okay, last one here. Then we'll wrap it up. But what is the your favorite prize that you've given away either from the qualifier or at the live competition?
Yeah, so we do an award every year. It's called Spirit of the Coast, and it's we give it to somebody that is just like a great ambassador for our event that embodies who we are. Somebody that has a servant mindset. They love the event. It's not about accolades for them, but they want what's best for the event. So we typically give it. Recently, it's always 3 years. It's been a volunteer. One time
Mhm.
it was a gym owner,
Oh, nice.
but it's somebody that just means a whole lot to us. And like
Yeah,
it's a really cool award because like through the event, like we've generated so many relationships that getting to tell a small story about somebody and how they've impacted the event is always really rewarding. Like we already have the person we're going to give it to this year, and
nice.
we just get excited just when we talk about the person. Like, oh, we can't wait to surprise them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, that's by far the best.
Yeah, yeah. Do you guys do so I've never seen that giveaway or that award. Do you guys do that publicly or is that private?
Yeah, so we do it. Typically, we do it on Saturday when we do like our podium ceremony on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. This year we're gonna do it a little differently. I don't know what we're gonna do because this year you'll see we're creating a stage that's in the vendor area near the athlete village. That'll be our podium stage
Oh,
where we're
nice.
doing podiums there, so it's in front of everybody.
Awesome.
Also is going to we're going to do rolling podiums, and you've competed at events for a while, so you know the feeling of you finished your last heat and you got to wait 2.5 hours for the
Yeah.
podium. So this year we're going to do rolling ones. So
Awesome.
within like 30 minutes, you'll go and podiums will be at the stage, so that way you don't got to wait till the end.
Is this was this something you saw at another competition, or is this something you just kind of came up with?
Uh, Actually, I think Brian Friend told me about it last year. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Brian and I were talking, and we were just talking, and he's like, "You know what the worst thing about events are?" He's like, "Podiums." He's like, "Everybody has to wait for him."
Yeah.
I think he said something like he's seen an event do something like that.
Okay.
That kind of stuck me. I was like, "Oh, we should do that." Like, because
Yeah.
frankly, nobody likes sticking around.
Right.
You're tired, and from my vantage point too, it takes an hour to do podiums.
Totally. Yeah.
So now we can maximize our window on Saturday, and then
Mm-hmm.
number two, we're gonna get start cleaning up a lot sooner on
That
Sunday.
and
So
that turnaround will be quicker when you guys go to teams as well.
yeah, so what we did is because that's the main thing is we were able to consolidate that a little bit. So the turnaround typically is a 2-hour turnaround from indies to teams. I think this year we're going to go an hour and 20 because we'll still have our kids division, but we're
Hmm.
moving the podium off site, so it'll be way more efficient.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
those unfortunate for those going individual right into team, but
Yeah, you're only going to get an hour and 20.
yeah.
Honestly, the people that go both, they're the real soldiers
Yeah,
out.
that's I mean honestly we try and do that just to like maximize the weekend
Yeah.
cuz
Well, oh, go ahead.
oh I was going to say it's just so much fun like going from one right to the other and team's so different than individual and like
It
just
is.
it's fun.
Yeah, it is, and that's one thing we try to keep in mind and try to make the workouts a little different. So that was
Mhm.
one of the things that we did. What I did as well. Like I've been to events that have teams and individuals
Mhm.
where they just take an individual workout and turn it into a team
Oh, oh,
workout,
it's
and
so frustrating.
I hate it. I
It's so
hate it.
frustrating.
I was like, dude, if you're like a programming, like if you're into programming, you're like, this isn't even a team workout. You're just
Yeah.
adding reps or
Yeah.
just, and it's just like, what are we doing?
Right.
So that was one of the things that like when that I was like, hey, if I ever have my own event, like we're not doing the same workouts for individuals and
That's
teams.
awesome.
Uh,
Yeah,
so which makes it harder because then you're programming like 12 events, but it makes it fun as well.
for
So
sure. Yeah, yeah. It makes the weekend way more enjoyable.
yeah, and then if you're doing both, you're not doing the same movements. Like we have some crossover movements just because of the equipment, but we try to
Yeah.
make the movements a little different so that way you
Yeah.
experience something different.
Yeah, and even if you're throwing in some similar movements, like the time domain's going to be different, the rep scheme's going to be different, like you're
Yeah,
still having variance in there.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
sweet. Well, we're right at about an hour here. We've seen that our drop off comes at about 45 minutes. So hopefully people are hitting this last 13 or 15 minutes here. But Kyle, thanks a ton for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to being out there this year and just kind of enjoying the competition again. So
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Kyle. I've enjoyed watching you guys from afar, and I really enjoyed your workout breakdowns this year, man. Dude, you got those out quick, dude.
yeah, that's practice from the old open days.
I was like, my
So
man is on top of things. Like,
yeah.
we'd be in the car driving back, we pull up your videos and watch it. See,
That's sweet. Yeah, yeah. That's practice from back in the old open days. So, yeah. Hopefully it helped you guys community too. So anything we can do to help.
I
So
think it did. Like, they're great videos. Like, really enjoyed them.
awesome.
Maybe next year we'll have to get you in to be a part of the broadcast where we bring you in to break down the workouts.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a ton of fun. So
Yeah. That way we can
cool.
get somebody a little smarter than us talking about it.
I don't know about that. I got some Neanderthal genes in here.
Perfect. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in February.
Likewise, Kyle. We'll talk to you later.